here, and this is a little video thingy I want to try out while working on 3 other projects. It's taken me a while for many reasons, but this is more of a video regarding character designs and stories in my, well, let's just call it a AU. This is revolving around my persona, the character you see here, and the hierarchy of the fictional place she lives in, Hell's Forest. Now, if you follow me on my Instagram, link in the description, you'll know that Hell's Forest is a place where monsters dwell outside the town of Shadowhaven. And well, those 2 places don't really like each other for reasons I'll explain in a different video. But I also said how there's sort of a hierarchy in Hell's Forest. The hierarchy has the Forest Keeper, my character, on the top as the one in charge of the forest, her family next, the Fox Clan members, or the Forest Guard third, Forest Overlords next, and then the rest of the monsters on the bottom. Now, Overlords in this case is more of an umbrella term in Hell's Forest. The Overlords can be a prince or a princess or something, or just monsters that rose to power, whether by being powerful with mystic magic, or just monsters that are feared just because. So, I wanted to make a video series on a guide to Hell's Forest hierarchy, and also just because I wanted to give an explanation on why I draw certain characters in a certain way. And we'll be starting off with the designs I gave to a certain YouTuber and his characters, Crazy is Crazy. If you don't know who Crazy is Crazy is, he's this awesome animator who makes all kinds of awesome videos, including a series called The Opposite Series, about 2 different universes of good and evil, aka the red and blue universe. I tend to draw this guy a lot just because he's so cool. Anyways, let's get right into the stories and designs about his characters in the universe of Hell's Forest. Also, please bear in mind, a lot of the info is coming from his characters' reference sheets, as well as videos of his characters, combined with my ideas for their roles in this quote-unquote AU. So while some of the stuff said is canon to the characters, I'm also adding info relating to my persona's world. Just to let you know. Anyway, let's get started. Meet Mark, a 19-year-old from the Netherlands and the Overlord of Battle and Protection. Mark is considered a very rare sight in Hell's Forest. Not just because of his powers, but because he is the first full-blooded human to be an Overlord. Now you could argue, what about werewolves? What about vampires? Well, yeah, but those guys are partly human. This guy is a full-blown human, just with crazy-ass powers. These powers consist of dual energies of good and evil that change depending on who the person is, their sins, their good deeds, etc., etc. Many have tried to hold this power, but they all either went insane or met an unfortunate end. Mark was the one person who could actually somewhat control this without using too much of one energy. He was pretty much taken in by the other Overlords and trained to rise the ranks himself. As for how he got his powers, he doesn't really talk about it. He doesn't really like to, and he only says it's complicated or some other response. By the way, if you want to learn how, I'm making a comic on Instagram that explains how he got his powers. I'm hoping to get back onto it as life has been tough, but please check out my Instagram to see the comic. His role in Hell's Forest is pretty much everything involving war, battle, and protecting Hell's Forest, along with the Forest Keeper. He's like a general, making weapons and preparing monsters in case of an attack on the forest. He looks over much of the weapon making as well as battle plans made by the monsters. And when he's not doing all that, he's training and keeping himself on his toes with fighting and controlling his powers, drawing, playing video games, hanging with his friends, or just other activities that he likes to do. He's also known for drinking a heck ton of coffee when working late or just because. Overall, he's an Overlord you do not want to mess with. I gave Mark a sort of royal uniform to show his status in Hell's Forest, and the idea of the dual energies was a way to connect him to the opposite series of good and bad. You know, red and blue. You get it! Anyway, as for the scar, well, originally I just gave him a scar to make him more badass, but then I decided to add a story to it. Again, if you want to check out how he got his powers, follow me on Instagram to see the comic I'm going back to work on regarding Mark's powers. Meet Mitchell, one of Mark's many pals from the Netherlands and head weapon designer. He is in charge of designing weapons with other monster designers. Given that he works in a computer company back home and has a love of video games, he tends to see this as designing and programming something while strategizing, like in one of his favorite RPG games. You know, where you strategize the best way to defeat an enemy. That's pretty much how Mitchell sees it. Now, when he and Mark's other friends found out he became an Overlord, well, Mitchell was the most worried about it. Mostly because he was afraid of the monsters turning on Mark and eating him, since, well, he's still a human, and monsters don't really trust humans at first. But he did manage to get used to the whole, oh god, my friend's an overlord of monsters or something, and started to help Mark out. In his free time, he keeps doing remote work for his job at the computer company, while also finding time to play video games and enjoy a nice plate of spaghetti. And while he doesn't really fight on the battlefield, he uses a special drone to help others while defending sneak attacks, or just as an extra hand in scouting. For his design, I made him more like a computer scientist and gave him a special wristband, which allows access to weapon-making technology on the go. I kept him somewhat the same, except for a few stuff I added, like the new outfit. Overall, Mitchell was really fun to design, and I hope to do more of him with the others. Meet Jib and Rick, the two head weapon testers and two of Mark's other friends. Jib and Rick are best buds and hang out a lot. They both kind of grew attached to the idea of testing out the new weapons, even though they freaked out at the amount of monsters in Hell's Forest at first. I mean, who wouldn't? Jib is the one who's mostly testing the more dangerous weapons, as the last time Rick did so, well, he kind of conked out one of the commanders in Mark's army, and Mark did not want a repeat of that. However, Rick still helps out with the more smaller weapons. As an extra to their jobs as weapon testers, they also act as spies to make sure the townsfolk of Shadowhaven don't try and plan a sneak attack on the forest, or just to see what the heck they're doing. You know, a little gossip here and there. Rick isn't the smartest, but he makes up for it in pure strength, taking out any enemy with a simple wrestling move or attack. Jib also makes his own weapons on the side, but he also does some selling of pills. This is mostly illegal, but he's smart enough to evade the police, like back in the Netherlands. Overall, these two are some of the best weapon experts in Hell's Forest, and monsters are wise not to mess with them. I tried giving them combat outfits for these designs, and while Jib relatively stayed the same, albeit he doesn't wear his cool-looking glasses when he's testing weapons, Rick I gave a more logical approach. I stuck with the green hair, but I made his hair more slicked back as, well, logically, because he also acts as a spy. A mohawk like his would probably get him caught by the enemy very easily. I also gave him a scar on his cheek, which is from one of the weapons he tested that went a little bit haywire. I also put these two together because they best buds and work the same job. So yeah, that's Jib and Rick for ya. Finally, meet Emily and Brittany, the two Spider Sisters. Emily is one hell of a girl, stronger than a bear and an expert at Muay Thai or Thai boxing. She also loves baking and makes these special little cakes and drinks that have her patent-pending blue poison infused with them, so that anyone who ate the cakes would be totally under the two sisters' control. It is this poison that Mark decided to use for more special weapons in getting info out of enemies his team captured, sort of like a truth serum. Emily's role in Mark's team is as a combat specialist, and many of the monsters respect her for it. Mostly because the monsters took to her so easily, her being a spider monster and all, but also because she could pretty much kick anyone's ass. Her sister, Brittany, acts as a sort of messenger between Mark's spies in Shadowhaven and Mark himself. She uses a special little cape to hide her spider features so that she doesn't get caught by the townsfolk. That way, she can see what the town is planning and get the info to Mark before they can enact their plan. Brittany is kind of shy and also very attached to Emily. In fact, it took her a while to get used to her new role because she was so freaked out. But over time, she got a little bit braver, and she's been doing that job ever since. Her basket is how she hides these special messages from Mark's spies, and she hides them with these special berries that are used to make the blue poison. All in all, these Spider Sisters will do anything they can to help Mark protect the forest. Design-wise, I gave Emily a bit longer hair to have it tied with a bow, kind of a callback to the bow in her hair from when she was first created by Mark. I also gave her fingerless glove as a sort of, how to put it, cool girl design, because nobody messes with this girl. As for Brittany, I gave her a longer dress with flats and had the bow tied around her waist as a sort of extra added to the dress. I kept the puffy shoulder sleeves like in her canon design, but I made them a bit lighter in color. All in all, I really liked how these two came out. Anyway, guys, that's it for this video on the Overlords of Hell's Forest. If you want to check out more art or see the comic explaining how Mark got his powers, which I'm going to get back to as life kind of cooled down for me, yay, check out my Instagram, link in the description. Also, shout out to the amazing Crazy is Crazy for creating such amazing characters and amazing videos. If you guys want to check out his stuff, his channel link will also be in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time.